So after the most recent reveal of the Magic the Gathering crossed Final Fantasy Commander decks, we now have looks at all of the products that are going to be available via this crossover, and they look pretty sick. So we're going to go into all of that in today's video. If any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button, and if you're new here and you'd like to stick around and help support the channel, you can subscribe, and as always, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. So first off, I want to say thank you to the people that left comments on the previous video. In that video, we went way more in depth with the Commander decks, the themes of those cards, and how they're going to work. So if you want that information, you can check out that video. I'll leave a link to that one in the description because there's some pretty cool info in there. But I also do want to thank the people that commented on that video, kind of explaining how some of the mechanics of Magic the Gathering work. Because again, I know next to nothing about this franchise, but this collaboration has me super excited because not only are the cards looking cool, but the mechanics also do seem genuinely interesting. So thank you to those people who explained how some of this game works. It sounds pretty cool. But for the purpose of today's video, we're going to take a look at all of the products available, the packaging, the cards, some information on how these things are going to work. So there's going to be more of an emphasis on that stuff. So starting off first, we have a shot of all of the products that are going to be available. Of course, we've got those booster packs, which will be sold separately, and they all have Cloud on the front, but I'm assuming they're all going to be varied up, and all 4 representatives of the Commander decks will be on each pack, I would assume. There's also going to be a collector's version of the booster packs, which have Terra on them. They also come with a mat, which is super nice. There's also a starter bundle, which has Sephiroth and Lightning on that. That's actually going to come with a 20-sided die. So that's a pretty good place for someone like me to start, even though I have no one to play with. This one is super cool. A gift bundle that has collector boosters, and the artwork on this one is representative of Final Fantasy XVI. We've got Ifrit fighting Bahamut. It looks beautiful. We've also got the starter set, which features Cloud and Sephiroth, and then our Commander decks. There's standard editions, and then the white boxes are going to be collectors. We'll go more in depth with these as we go through the video. But starting off first with a better look at those play boosters. Again, all 4 representatives will probably be on these packs, and I remember being a kid opening up Yu-Gi-Oh cards, how exciting it was to just rip that foil open and see what cards you got in there. And what's nice about these play boosters is that all the Final Fantasy games 1 through 16 are going to be represented in these packs. So while games like 15 and 8 don't get their own Commander decks, they will be in these play boosters, which is really nice. Moving on, we have that starter kit, which I'm thinking I'm gonna pick up because it features Cloud and Sephiroth on the artwork, but you also get 2 really cool looking cards featuring seemingly 7 remake iterations of Cloud and Sephiroth. It looks like they're battling in the dilapidated Midgar that we saw at the end of 7 Remake, which is very reminiscent of Advent Children. And again, as someone who's a big fan of Final Fantasy artwork and just Final Fantasy in general, the artwork here is stunning. Cloud looks super cool. I can't help but notice that when a lot of people draw Cloud, they always make him a little bit more thick. He's a little bit more muscular than how we're used to seeing him, but that is Cloud, the planet's champion. And then we've got Sephiroth, the planet's heir, or as I'm going to call him, the planet's hair, because look at that beautiful head of hair that man has got. It's just flowing in the wind. There's sparks and embers everywhere. This is super cool. I think I'm going to pick up this one. It's not just because it's Final Fantasy VII themed and these cards are cool. It's just probably a really good place for someone like me to start if I ever do decide to maybe play one day. Up next, we have the Final Fantasy Through the Ages cards, and from my understanding, I believe they said that these were not standard legal, which, going back to my Yu-Gi-Oh days, I think that means you probably can't use them in actual play or like tournament play with people. They're probably mostly there just for collectors. Or maybe you're someone who wants to run some back alley, shady, unsanctioned match, and you do allow these cards. That could be fun. But I think these cards in particular are going to feature the art of Amano and Nomura, and a lot of it will be concept art, at least based on what the people in charge of this crossover have said. So our first card is representative of concept art for Final Fantasy I, and the second is art of Yuffie, which all of us are familiar with this art. It's one of the more iconic images of Yuffie, but these are some really cool looking cards. Up next, we have the summon cards. Now again, keep in mind, I'm not super familiar with the rules of Magic, but based on what the people in charge of this project said, these summon cards are going to actually work a little bit different from other Magic cards, and they have what are called chapters. I would refer to them as phases, but they essentially work like a summon would work in a Final Fantasy game. So you pull them out, they go through each of their chapters, and once they're finished, you pull them off of the field and they're gone, which is pretty cool. And here we have Shiva, who is represented by her Final Fantasy X look, which might be my favorite Shiva iteration. It's such a cool looking version of that character. I think 10 in general might have some of the best looking summons in the series, especially Bahamut. You've got like Chad Bahamut, super buff, arms crossed. He just shows up. He's like, who do you want me to mess up? It's some cool stuff. But here is a really good chance to talk about some of the different cards they're going to have. They'll have the regular cards, and then there's going to be the cards that are borderless woodblock cards, which have a different art style on them. There will also be double face cards, borderless character cards, the summon cards, which we're looking at right now, and then those Through the Ages cards, which we just looked at. But again, super beautiful artwork. And they're all incredibly faithful to the games that they come from. Now up next, we have a very good example of those double face cards, which this is new to me. Again, I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't recall there being double face cards. They were all just one-sided. But from my understanding, a double face card means that there's two different sides to the card. So for this one, which is Final Fantasy 15 themed, which is great, love that game, we have the side quest Catch a Fish card, which is an ode to Noctis, the king of fishing. And then on the back of that card, we have the cooking campsite, which is Ignis, about to cook up some food. And then we have a separate card, which is just food. And the food in Final Fantasy 15 looks incredible. And this card is no different. So these are really cool. I'm not familiar with these types of cards that have like the double side to them and have basically different ways to play. And based on what the people in charge have said, a lot of these double-sided cards will be reserved either for stuff like this, like these side quest cards, or for characters that have transformations in their respective stories. And the next card is a very good example of that. This is Emmett Zelch from Final Fantasy XIV, and he's going to be one of those double-sided cards. So we have the first version of him on the front, and then on the back will be his Hades Sorcerer of Eld card. Which again, I'm not super familiar with 14, but from what I've seen some people say, Emmett is a really cool villain, and a lot of people seem to really like him. But this is going to be one of those double-sided cards. Another good example of the double-sided card, we have Garland from Final Fantasy I on one side, and on the other side we have his Chaos form. Now, as far as double-sided cards go, I don't know how you would play those. Do you just pick which side you want to play? Are you able to play both sides? Those of you who are more familiar with the rules, if you could let me know in the comments down below, that would be really nice. Now, some cards will also have multiple versions as well. So this is a really good example. We've got Cecil. On one side, we have the Dark Knight version, and on the other, we've got the Redeemed Paladin version. And then to go along with those, we have those borderless character cards, which is featuring a lot of really beautiful character art. Borderless, of course, which really emphasizes how beautiful the art actually is. I really like cards like these. I think they're super cool to have, and I think that these types of cards in particular make for really great display pieces. There will also be extended art cards, which we will take a look at a little bit later. Up next, we have some of the creatures of Final Fantasy featuring the Tonberry, one of the cutest and also most terrifying creatures in the world of Final Fantasy. They just look like cute little salamanders with cloaks and lanterns, but they're very mischievous and will kill you if you even look at them wrong. We also have Saz, or was it Saz's Chocobo from Final Fantasy XIII? I remember he had a Chocobo that liked to hide in his hair. That will be one of the featured creature cards. And then we have Stiltskin, who's probably my favorite Moogle in the series. I always loved seeing this guy in Final Fantasy IX, whether I was delivering letters to him or he was giving letters to me. It was super nice, kind of broke up the pace a little bit of FF9 to kind of have that moment of like, oh, there's Stiltskin, let's talk to him. Stiltskin will also have two different cards, and in the first card, if we peek in the corner, we can see Vivi walking away, and it looks to be the location that we first encounter Stiltskin in FF9 within the city. Next, we have Sin from Final Fantasy X, who is a disgusting whale creature. He will also be getting two different cards, one that is representative of the end of FF10 where you're fighting Sin on top of the airship, which was very frustrating as a kid, and then another extended art piece of him in the sky. Next, we have one of my favorite pieces of art for a number of reasons. This is the Jumbo Cactar from Final Fantasy VIII, and one of the reasons I like this piece of art is that there's actually some Easter eggs in here. If you look at the lower left, we have Irvine or Irvine, depending on your level of literacy, trying to avoid that 10,000 needles attack. And then on the lower right hand, just a little peek, we can see Renoa getting ready to attack that big Cactuar. And then we also have one of the borderless character pieces of the Jumbo Cactuar doing that 10,000 needles attack. And I really do enjoy stuff like this. Little pieces like this, the little bit of Easter egg that you find in these pictures, it really does show that the people putting these together and working on the artwork really do genuinely love this series and these games, and to include like little nods to some of the characters I think is great. Now up next we have some better looks. This was from their live stream of some of the borderless character cards and the extended art cards. This one is for Emmett Zelch. He's got 4 different looks on these cards. Also, if there's any Emmett Zelch fans, let me know in the comments, like, how cool is this dude? Because I hear so many people praising him. They say he's got like a really great arc. I would really love to know more about the character and what he's done in the story of Final Fantasy XIV, because honestly, he looks a lot like Arden from Final Fantasy 15, so I don't know if there's some inspiration there, but I don't know too much about this dude. Now up next we have our characters that will be representing the commander decks, and we did go over these already, but these are some much better looks, and we also get a look at the extended art in the borderless character cards for these characters, starting off first with Terra. And again, that extended art really does focus more and emphasize the artwork itself without hiding too much of it. And again, when it comes to the art style that they seem to be going for, Square Enix and the Magic the Gathering team worked together to make sure that the artwork would be accurately represented based on the games that they come from. And at the end of the day, all of this artwork was approved by Square Enix in their respective Final Fantasy teams. In particular with Final Fantasy VI, they mentioned that they did work with the Final Fantasy VI team when it came to these art pieces. And I do love the borderless character cards. They almost kind of have like that anime look to them that you would see in like an anime game or a TV show. It's a very unique look. You don't see the characters represented that way too much within the series. Next we have Cloud. Again, that extended art piece is super, super nice. You get to see way more of the limit break in action, a little bit more of the background. And then we've got that borderless character card as well, which is just Cloud posing with the Buster Sword, looking super cool, like he usually does. Next we have Tidus. Again, his is more anime focused as well when it comes to even like his face and extended card. And then of course the borderless character card is like full on anime, but he looks cool. It's very much that confident Tidus that we remember from 10. And then we've got Y'shtola, which that extended art piece of her is insanely beautiful. I love the colors. I love how dark it looks. She's such a cool looking character. And then we've got her borderless character card as well. And then our last look again are those commander decks, which will be representative of Final Fantasy VI, 7, 10, and 14. Again, they come in standard, which is the black box, and collector's edition, which is the white box. And from my understanding, the collector's edition has way more of the foil cards, which are the super shiny cards. Growing up, we always called them holographic cards. That probably wasn't the correct term for that card. But yeah, those will have way more of the shiny foil cards. And they did say that overall, almost every card will have a regular version as well as a foil version. So if you've got the disposable income, you're probably going to be buying a lot of those booster packs to try and find the foil cards. And then the last image we're going to end on is Sephiroth. This art piece of Sephiroth is so gorgeous. And to me, this is like the epitome of what this crossover actually is. It's Sephiroth done in a slightly different style, but it still looks like the Sephiroth that we're so familiar with, specifically from the 7 Remake trilogy. He just looks so cool, man. Look at that hair flowing in the wind. He's ready to fight. There's so much detail on the armor, on the sword, on his outfit. It's insane. So again, all of this stuff comes out on June 13th of 2025. I assume it's not going to be cheap, but for me, I'm kind of looking at the Final Fantasy VII Cloud Commander deck, maybe the collector's edition of that one, but also the starter deck. Not just because I'm a big FF7 fan, but I feel like if I ever do meet people who play this game, maybe that starter kit would be a good place to kind of learn the rules of the game and figure out how to do everything. And even if I don't play with anyone, just having these cards and this beautiful artwork is super cool. So with that being said, that is the video. I am Curious Corduroy. Let me know in the comments down below, what are you guys going to be picking up from this Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy collaboration? Are you looking at a specific commander deck, or are you just looking to collect some cool looking cards? I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.